Welcome to the Trades Podcast, a podcast about the business of home improvement and promoting the trades to young adults. In this podcast, we talk with business owners, educators, and professionals about the benefits, skills, and related experiences of the home improvement business. Tips to help you with being successful from entry into the trades or established business owners. In this podcast, we hope to influence some young adults that the trades as a career is a great option leading to full and prosperous life. I'm Danny Torres, an MC, DJ, and podcaster, inspiring young adults by shining light onto career opportunities in our world today.
And I'm Jeff Mudd, home improvement contractor, writer of the Millionaire Carpenter series, and podcaster.
Stay tuned to 15 to 20 minutes of insightful tips.
Quite a little while now, and he's definitely a hero, in my opinion, on making an impact to some young adults' lives and changing the trajectory of how young adults would get into the trades. So I'd like you to introduce yourself, Steve, and tell us a little bit more about how you got into starting a nonprofit, what you're doing for, things out there, and welcome aboard, my friend.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure being here. So like you said, my name is Steve Turner. I'll go into my business before I go into Bring Back the Trades. I own Turner's Upholstery in Rye, New Hampshire. Been in business it'll be 34 years this December. I started my company when I was 19 years old, right out of high school. What we do here is we do custom, not just custom, but a lot of our stuff is custom. We do custom automobile upholstery, boat tops, boat seats, convertible tops. We fix seats if you got a burn hole in your seat, if you need a carpet replaced, door panels. We do pretty much everything on the inside of a car. We don't do glass. Sometimes we do glass, but we like an old antique car, but we don't do glass like you would think, windshields and stuff like that. We don't do paint, but we do wiring. We do welding. We do construction as far as building consoles and building seats and stuff like that. So that's my background. Like I said, I started when I was 19 years old. I started Bring Back the Trades, which we're talking about today, in 2017 because I hired one guy who's been with me 17 years back in 2005. Been doing the business my whole life by myself until 2005. Hired him. He is, I think he's 45 now, so he's a little bit younger than me. We started growing the business because it wasn't just me doing the business. I actually had an employee that was working. I was able to do the administrative stuff, get computerized, really start focusing on building the business. But then we got to the point where we were really building the business with the reputation, and the reputation was getting out, and I was getting more and more work, and I couldn't keep up with it. So I was putting ads in the newspaper, on the radio, everywhere to get a young individual, not just for short term, but I was thinking long term, because every good business owner, they want to have a plan to get out of the business, meaning they want to sell their business. So I wanted to get a younger kid to come in and to learn the trade. And eventually, because the guy that was working with me, he's like, you know what, I'll be at the same age you will be, so I don't want to buy. I just want to retire. So my plan was to find a younger kid, train him for 10 or 15 years, have him buy the business, have the Turner's Upholstery name go on forever. After about 5 years, I couldn't find nobody. So I woke up one day, August of 2017, with just a simple idea to create a hat that said "Bring Back the Trades." Went to one of my friends that does my embroidery. Said, "Hey, can you just make me up a hat that says "Bring Back the Trades"?" He goes, "Do you want a logo on it?" I said, "Surprise me." So he made me a hat that said "Bring Back the Trades" with a hammer and a saw on it. A week later, one of my good friends that lives down the street that builds custom houses came in to ask me a question. He saw the hat and he goes, "Where'd you get the hat?" I said, "I just designed it. I've been talking about this forever." He goes, "I need 12 of them as soon as you can get them." I said, "Well, why?" He goes, "We need to get those on everybody's heads so that we can start a conversation." So I got him 12 hats that said a hammer and a saw. Next week, one of his subs, that's an electrician, comes by and says, "Hey, can you get me 18 hats and change out the logo to like an electrical outlet? Electric logo?" So I can do that. Next couple weeks later, I got a plumber that comes by. So my wife goes, I think you got something there.
That is a clue, isn't it?
It's a clue. So I started making hats. I was selling them, started a Facebook page that, I was selling them. So I was making up welding, chef, hairdressing. I had like, I don't know, at one point, I think we had, I don't know how many logos we had. I should know that, but we don't. But what happened was we had everything made in America. And unfortunately, the hats were costing me too much. I couldn't make enough money off of them. So I went to the apparel. So I started raising the money, started selling them. And one of my good friends comes by and goes, "Hey, what are you doing with the money?" And I said, right now, I have no idea. It's in a bank account. He goes, "Well, my mother just passed away. I don't really need the money. I'm going to give it to our local school for the trade program for a scholarship. Why don't you sell the hats, start building a scholarship program out of it?" So it's kind of funny how it happened. I came up with the idea. My construction guy said, "Hey, start building the hats." And then my good friend says, start a scholarship program. So it wasn't just really me. It was kind of like a community thing that got it going. And then I took it. I did it for like a year and a half. And then I hired a friend of mine to work with me for a year that does nonprofits, did all the IRS paperwork, did all this, got me, the official board members, built this whole thing for me, because it was a little bit above my pay scale as far as doing all the administrative stuff.
It's a different skill set. It takes time to learn.
So she worked for me for a whole year, built the whole entire thing, and now, we've got a full board. We've got an executive director. We just purchased a trailer now. We go to different schools. We go to different events. I mean, we're doing so much.
Yeah. I want you to come back and tell me about those events in a little while, Steve.
Yep.
So, fantastic story on how you got started. It almost sounds like we're similar in the sense I started this podcast out of frustration of not being able to find anybody that even wanted to work, let alone skilled people that knew what they were doing.
Yep.
So, yeah, fantastic way to get started. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are going to continue to wish you much success at it.
Yep.
One of the things that in my journey with the trades is, what is a trade? I mean, we can all think of it as carpenter or plumber, but it's so far reaching beyond that. How do you define that, Steve?
So technically, in the dictionary of trades, any person that works with their hands technically is a trade, which gets kind of dicey because everybody really works with their hands. If you're typing on a typewriter, but what we're trying to do is we're going for the main ones. And when I say main ones, wherever a CT, so around our place, they're not called trade schools, they're called career technical education. So yeah. CTE.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to work our scholarships that match up all of the trades that are taught in CT department. So believe it or not, hairdressing is taught, culinary is taught, robotics is taught. Then you've got, electrical, plumbing, welding, roofing, all of those. But there's a lot of stuff, dental hygienists, believe it or not, nursing, they're all considered trades. So what we try and do, and a lot of people will disagree with me, which is fine, but we go out, we'll give a scholarship to somebody that applies in that field if there is actually a certified technical education school that does it, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to get the kids back in the trade. So we're not going to say just because dental hygienist really isn't a trade, it's considered a trade because it's a technical school that teaches it. So that's how we do it.
That's a really good point in the sense of you're putting a young adult, hopefully, on a career trajectory that gives them a solid education, a long-standing career that they can continue to move up in different certificates or education to the point where they can either own their own business or they've hit a level that they can make a comfortable living for their family. Totally.
But the one thing I'll say is, certain trades have better financial help than others. Like if you were going into nursing or culinary, usually that program has financing help for it.
Yes.
Automotive, welding, and stuff like that, they don't usually have a lot of financial help. So we get more essays for our scholarships for the trades that you normally hear about, like the electrician, the welding, the plumbing. That's where most of our essays come from, those trades, because they don't get the financial help.
Interesting, yes. So like a automotive welder. Actually, I got a friend that's been in the automotive business for 30 years.
Yep.
And so understand the details that you can get into the welding of super thin sheet metal. But it's really how many people are in that particular microclass of welding as compared to welding, which includes building ships, manufacturing, building gates. I mean, the list goes on and on. So welding is a really general thing. Underwater welding, I'm sure.
We just gave out a scholarship last year to a kid that took, in Seattle, there's a school for underwater welding.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So you criteria is basically there needs to be a certificate and training program behind it.
Correct.
I like that. That's a very clean parameters and definable.
Yep. And we all know that, like, when you talk about welding, ship welding, manufacturing welding, they all take a different person, because some are outside in the sun and it's 150 degrees, and some are inside an air conditioning room. So it takes a different kind of person to do each job.
Absolutely, and you get into the different metals and different weldings. And I worked in a shop. I was talking to you about this earlier, Steve, that I really got a lot of diverse background that I can draw on. In my very early 20s, I worked in a plating shop, and they brought in small components that were welded, and they did testing so they could see the cracks that you could with ultraviolet lights. So
exactly. Yep.
Yeah, so there's some high-tech stuff out there, and all that has that particular thing has a lot of government specs behind it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to be putting a part on this on a jet airplane that's going to crack.
Or the space shuttle.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different paths that people can take. That's for sure.
Correct. Yep.
So right now you're running a nonprofit. You've got your own business.
Yep.
You were telling me you got some board members.
Yep.
Do you have any other help? Is this all you?
No, I couldn't tell you. Stephanie Brown is my executive director. She actually lives in Toronto, believe it or not. And she spends 60 to 70 hours a week on this with me. My wife is a full-time teacher, but she's at all my events. Believe it or not, and I want to say this right off the bat, we're not against college whatsoever. My son went to college. He took up marketing. He's doing fabulous. I'm all about college and the trades. I'm just more for the trades because I was one, and I want to help the kids that don't have a career path, choosing. But my son, believe it or not, is at all my events when he can be home. He's actually home right now because we're going to have an event on Sunday at a local ice cream place. So even though he's, not in the trades, he was in marketing in high school. He was the one that got me going. He started all my brochures. He did all my marketing. So it's it's a family affair. Plus we do have board members. Yes.
Yeah. So he understands the years of sweat and tears that you've put into your own business. And so he wants to help people out. And that's one of the things about the trades, though. There's, I guess, a misconception about the plumber, the lower class, blue collar guy. But you know what? There's some plumbers out there that have worked their way up in a very short amount of time that own plumbing companies that are making more than some of these college graduates.
Not only do they own plumbing companies, they own lake houses with 3 or 4 boats and jet skis and all kinds of toys too.
Absolutely.
But the trouble is, the tradespeople that are very successful, they're all successful. But I mean, the very successful tradespeople, you never see it because they're so busy working that when they're playing, they're gone.
Yeah.
You don't see it day to day like you see on TV, successful marketing people that own yachts and stuff like that. You don't see the successful people in the trades. You just don't.
Yeah.
That's where my mission comes in, to start showing the parents what these trades can bring. That's my mission, is to get out there and educate. It's not the kids. When I first started, I thought it was the kids. It's not. The roadblock is the parents.
Absolutely. There's so much. We want the best for our kids. Actually, early on in my construction thing, I have 2 boys. They're off on their own now. But I had them come work for me for the summer, demoing decks.
Yep.
Hey, you can either follow in your dad's footsteps and get dirty and, sore back and all that, or you can go to college.
Yep.
So they took neither path. But that's an example of, I'm a guy in the trades pushing college early on in my career to my own kids. So that's in my opinion, that's really where some of the changes need to happen in this country.
Yeah, and that's what Bring Back the Trades is all about.
Absolutely. There's a little program I did out here, and I was so disappointed that I couldn't be here for like the finale road trip or field trip that the kids got to do at one of the high schools. They're building a new stadium here in San Diego.
Okay.
And they took a dozen kids from multiple high schools and walked them around not only the construction site, but all the contractors, subcontractors are out there, had displays set up and were explaining and demonstrating their particular trades there, the concrete, the metal superstructures, and on and on. I really disappointed I missed that, but that's the type of stuff that I think the kids need to see and get their hands on and feel.
Exactly. Yeah, well, that's what we just bought a mobile trailer. We're eventually going to have it set up. We're starting to do it now, where we can go to a school and actually have each month maybe a plumber come, have show the kids how basic plumbing works, how basic electricity, have them touch it, feel it.
Absolutely. And there's some talk about how we learn. Mm-hmm. So some kids can do really good listening. Some of them can't learn unless they can put their hands on it and see it at the same time. Yep. Other kids can learn by just reading the book.
Yeah, it's like me. I can take something out of a box, just look at it and build it. I don't need instructions.
99% of the time.
Yep. Yeah. So there's that barbecue and there's that one wire that you can't get in because you went too far on the steps.
yeah, you thought you knew it and then you got to backtrack. Yeah, but I understand what you're saying. It's intuitive for a lot of people. Other people are going to read the directions several times and then call somebody for help.
Exactly. Yeah, there's an app for that, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Now.
So, how do you go about determining who wins scholarships when somebody applies?
For me, it's pretty easy. I pick the most deserving person with their story of how passionate they are about the trades, because I want to make sure that the money that I'm giving, and we pay the school directly. We don't pay the student, we pay the school directly. But I want to make sure that person, when I read that story, that they're going to go into that trade and hopefully stay there, not just go in there because they're going into it just to try and find themselves like college. The other criteria is that we try and pick the person that needs the money the most. Like, it's going to determine whether they're going to actually go or not, because they don't come from money. So it's two things: the story and the financial help. So that's basically how we pick them.
Awesome. And I forgot to, geographically, first off, where are you located right now?
We're located in New Hampshire, New Hampshire, but our scholarships, and I know where you're going to go with this, our scholarships are available in any state in the United States. The only thing you have to do really to be eligible is the 2022 year is gone, so you have to be graduating in 2023, or you can be in a school right now. The only thing you have to do is you have to have debt. So if you're in your last month of school and you have no more debt, you can't apply because we pay the school directly.
Okay.
So as long as you have over $1,000 in debt, you're all set.
All right.
So you can be in your last year.
Anywhere in the country, you're looking for a school certificates program. It's not fly-by-night stuff. It's not junior college where they're just trying to get some of their credits to keep the parents happy.
Yeah. Right now we're giving out $1,000, but as we build the fund, we'll be giving out more than $1,000. And I'm working with some people that want to be anonymous. So I think what's going to happen is this year, at least one person is going to get the full year paid for. So as we grow, we're having a lot of more people that say, I really want to help out, and that 1,000 will jump up to more than 1,000. Fantastic.
That you're making an impact. That's one thing I told Danny when we first started this podcast of ourselves is I'm making a commitment to do this. I'll finance whatever it takes to be a good podcasting company and all that. And if we change one kid's life, then I feel like, I've done more than a lot, or I've done my share.
I had two people, both females, last year crying on the phone when I gave them the $1,000 because they actually thought that they weren't going to be able to pay their tuition and keep going without the $1,000. So when you hear that, it's like it's all worth it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because as we get older, we forget. I mean, I'll never forget when I was 19 years old. I lived in my office because I didn't have any money and I just couldn't pay rent. So it's not too long ago that I remembered the struggle. But when you have money, you don't feel that pain of struggling.
Yeah.
So I actually still feel that pain when they say they don't have any money. Let's put it this way: I can still relate to not having money. So it makes me feel good.
Absolutely, yes. I've learned that too in my later years. The feeling, good feelings, don't come from getting; they come from giving.
Exactly.
So good for you. So how do the kids apply? Your website that simple?
They go to bringbackthetrades.org. They go onto our scholarship page, and there's two ways to do it. You can fill out an essay of why you're deserving of the scholarship. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the kids to do videos. If they can do a video and just speak from the heart about why they want it, they can submit it that way, which is easier because, sometimes we'll have 200 essays that we got to read. It'd be easier just to watch the video. You can. We've had quite a few girls do them. Not as many guys. Girls like to do videos, but it's a better feel for the candidate if you can see them and really feel it when they're talking about their trade. So to answer your question, two easy ways: essay or video.
Absolutely. I really like the fact that you'll allow the video part. I think that brings out. I mean, one, you're probably dealing with a young adult that's not as academically inclined to write a motivational letter.
And it's funny because when I wrote the word essay, for the first couple of months, and I'm like, one day I'm sitting at my desk and I'm going, Steve, you would have never done an essay. You can't write worth the what. Yeah. So you wouldn't even apply. So I'm like, I got to make this for how I would want to take it. So when I did the video thing, I'm like, I started getting videos. I'm like, oh, okay, you've got to make it easy for kids that aren't academic, because most kids that go into the trades, they're not into academics, they're not into writing.
Yeah, they have different learning paths.
Exactly.
I don't think it's a smarter or not smart enough thing anymore. It's more different styles of learning and internal, I guess, satisfaction.
Yeah. Funny because I told my wife, she's a teacher, and she agrees with me. I'm like, the way we could fix the school system would be so easy, and I know how this could be done, but it's all about money. Every school counselor knows by sophomore year what that kid is if that kid's gonna be college bound or if they're not. By the end of sophomore year, early junior year, they know by their grades and everything else whether they're going to college or they're not. And every person that's not college bound should be, I'm not saying throw them into a trade, but open their eyes instantly as a junior or even a sophomore. Say, hey, these are your options. Because you can't just say, okay, they're not going to college and just ignore them. You can't. And there's too many kids out there that just get swept under the rug because they're not college bound.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge problem out there.
It is.
And how does, I guess, us as industry owners and leaders give more of a visual look at what the construction career would mean in your particular field? There's nothing out there. It's very limited at best.
Exactly. I think the government, I told myself I'd never be a politician, and I hope I never have to be, because I don't want to be one, because that's a nasty world. But, it has to happen from the top down. Schools, like I said, if it wasn't for my high school having trades, I wouldn't be here today. So back then, all the schools had trades. So it has to go back to that way again, where the schools can start applying trades in the schools again. And more schools don't have trades than do have trades.
It's definitely a complicated thing. So I've been in a couple high schools here in San Diego that have a robotics huge classroom. They have engineering classrooms, a wood shop that's all decked out. And I've talked to both the teachers in that particular school. They can't get kids in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hold on. So it's a financial thing, and the problem is, what people don't realize, in order to get those schools to get trades in them, people's taxes on their houses have to go up.
Or a reallocation of money too. How many computers have we been buying each year?
Exactly. But what I'm saying is, you have to sell it to the towns, because like in my town, so part of our property tax goes towards the schools.
Absolutely.
Now, I live in a very wealthy area that is all, I'm 45 minutes from Boston. I live on the seacoast, so it's a very wealthy, fluent area. It's all computer people. It's all wealth management people. They're all driving to Boston every day. If you said, I want your taxes to go up because we're going to put the trades back in the schools, I think you'd have some pushback. I really do, because it's just the way it is.
Absolutely. It's not in my neighborhood attitude.
Exactly. So, you have to, that's where my mission comes in, to start explaining that, if we don't fix the problem, your third lake house that you want to build, there's going to be nobody to build it. Or there might be somebody to build it, but you know how you want that stone just right in your kitchen? You're not going to find anybody. Yeah. You're not going to find anybody to that's you. It's not that I'm trying to scare people, but it's coming.
Yeah, the service industry will definitely suffer. That's what we'll see. The home building industry is definitely it's taking a hit right now with the economy, but it's not gonna die. It's definitely gonna rebound stronger than ever.
And I'm telling you, like the area I live, we could have a recession, but the people that live here, it always hits them no matter what, with their IRAs, their 401ks and all. It does hit them, but it doesn't hit them the same as it hits everybody else.
Yeah, they're not looking at the price of gas and how do I rebudget.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Man, it's been great talking with you, Steve. Do you have anything about employment stats out there? Do you follow those at all?
I do, but they're so different in each state. They're just coming out now, so I don't really want to say it because they're going to update them. So, but I will say, I know the question, to answer your question that you asked about, is it getting better?
Yeah.
It is definitely getting better. What I always do at every event, any young kid that comes up to me that says, hey, I'm in the construction field, I'm in the welding field, first question I ask them is, so what's the age on your work? What's the age of the person working with you on your job site? When I first started in 2017, it was 55 to 65. This last summer, right now that I'm talking to kids, it's 40 to 45. So it is getting better.
Well, that's really nice to hear the way you put it that way, because I just heard yesterday, I'm a member of the Building Industry Association here in San Diego, and they were talking in one of the committees that the baby boomers are retiring faster than our students are entering the workforce.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody in Greenville, South Carolina. For every 5 that go out, 1 goes in.
That's huge. That's huge. How do you think that us as business owners or educators can help change some of the perception with parents?
Well, what I'm suggesting, and we're just starting it, is, and I know it's hard because every small business owner is really old, but we have apprentice programs around here. I want to go one step before that. To me, put a kid in a van or on a job site, have them look at the job, see what goes on in that job to see if they like it before they go into it. Like a lot of kids will be like, okay, I want to become an electrician. I'm just going to go to electrician school. They actually graduate and they decide they don't want to go into it. They should actually go in a van, go on a job site, maybe work for like a month on that job to see if they actually like it before they invest in it And not only that, they invest in it, and then they get the job working on the job site with the worker, and they're wasting their time. I don't mean wasting their time, but if you're devoting all this time to building up, rapport and show them stuff, and then they're not going to last, that employer has to start all over again. So I think employers really need to, like we do events. I have some employers, anybody that sponsors us comes to our events. So basically, if you give us money, we don't want just your money. We want you to partner. Like last month, we had a guy that he rebuilds, electric motors. He brought over 3 or 4 electric motors in all the steps. And he was showing all the people what he does. And the parents were like, oh my God, that's so cool. I never knew how that went together. And they were just sitting there instead of just walking by, because he was able to show them how it works. He had electricity set up. It was like a little trade fair.
Yeah.
So when somebody, sponsors us, we want them to partner with us. We want them to come to our events and show off their skills.
So having some trade expos maybe in the high schools or even junior highs, I think would be a huge step in.
You got to spark that interest.
Yeah. I mean, it's not for everybody. I mean,
it's not.
This country definitely needs doctors and scientists and IT people, you know, but we also need somebody that can build a house and a high rise and, fix the plumbing. So on and on. Awesome. Steve, I wish you the best of luck. How can anybody that's listening to this podcast get a hold of you, and what can they do to help you?
So basically, they can't see it, but I'm wearing a shirt. So we have shirts, we have hoodies, we have stickers. You can go to bringbackthetrades.org. We have a shop page on there where you can order anything you want, because our logo is there. You can buy whatever you want. Our logo goes on it. You can go to bringbackthetrades.org and you can donate just through right through the website. So if you personally want to just donate, you can do it that way. If you want to become a sponsor through your business, there's a sponsor page on there. You can pick which tier you want to be. If you're local to us, I know where you're on the the West Coast, but if you're listening, you're close to New Hampshire and you want to come to one of our events and become a sponsor, you can do that. So there's many ways you can go to our Facebook page, Bring Back the Trades. You can go to my LinkedIn page, Bring Back the Trades. And we're on Instagram. And my email is pretty easy. It's steve@bringbackthetrades.com.
Fantastic, Steve. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast here. And I know that with people like you, we're going to make a difference. That we'll get more people into the trades.
Like you said, one student at a time.
That's it, my friend. That's it. So
thank you very much.
The Trades Podcast, Steve Turner, Bring Back the Trades. Been an awesome time chatting with you, Steve. Thank you so much.
Thank you.